Y'all, I'm not Amish. I did have to use my last 6-month-old razor blade though, so the razor burn looks sick. Avs lose to the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-1. This game was silly. Just silly. 0 5-on-5 goals scored. Total. Neither team managed to put one in the back of the net at 5-on-5. And for the majority of the game, the Avs were the better team at 5-on-5. Certainly through the first 2 periods, the Avs outshot, outchanced, and out-attempted Toronto by a lot. Maybe more importantly through those first 2 periods, though, the Avs were doing the little details right. They were winning puck battles. They were getting to the right areas. They just weren't finishing. And the same can be said of Toronto to some extent. They did hit 3 posts in this game, so they were close. But both of the goals that Toronto actually scored are silly. Meanwhile, the one goal the Avs scored was actually pretty nice looking. The first period goes back and forth, but neither team ends up scoring. The Avs outshoot Toronto 13-5 in the period, which is worth noting. That's another first period where the Avs give up very, very little. And when it's all said and done, the Avs only gave up 26 shots on goal total in all situations in this game, and that's the highest amount they've given up since the trade deadline. The Avs are a smothering hockey team now. It is hard to get shots on goal against this team. The second period felt like it opened up a good bit. The Avs were still on the better side of possession, especially in the second half of the period. But again, neither team with anything to show for it at 5-on-5. It's the power play where both teams produce their goals. And while at the end of the second the scoreboard will read 1-1, really, it's the Avs that score both of the goals. The Avs do lose the face-off here, so maybe that's the one thing you could say they could really do better other than just not take the penalty. The Leafs get it back to the point. They do run the 5-forward power play, so it's Marner up here running the point. But this isn't anything fancy. He just throws it down the wall to Matthews, and Matthews is looking to get it to the middle to a dangerous area, but Taves is here. He's defending it. We've seen the Avs struggle defending this area some this year. Taves has his stick ready, and he makes the play. He interrupts this pass. This should not even result in a scoring chance. Unfortunately, the puck ramps off of his stick directly into the Avs net. The story of both goals the Avs give up in this game is that dumb stuff happens. Yes, sure. If you play perfectly, you can maybe prevent some of these before they ever even become an option. Don't take a penalty in the first place, and this situation can never play out. But honestly, I think the Avs play it pretty well there. Taves does his job by keeping that puck from getting to the man at the top of the crease. He just takes a tough bounce where, I guess, sure, if he is a mastermind that can see the future, he can place his stick in just the right way that it doesn't redirect into his own net. But to do that in the moment is a microscopic decision that probably isn't very realistic. Thankfully, the frustration of giving up that goal early in the second doesn't last long because the Avs get a power play of their own and they're able to get it back. After a good initial flurry of attempts, the Avs get a little too crowded. A bit of an iffy pass from McKinnon, and then he closes gap and takes away space from Makar, makes an awkward blue line situation where the Avs get the puck cleared. But it's not a deep clear. Marner had to dive to make the play and can only get it to the red line. With it being the second period, it's the long change, so the Leafs can't change. The Avs turn it quickly and attack immediately. McKinnon, the best zone entry guy on the planet, makes it look easy. You get set up again. Val gets it back to the point, and you have Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. Maybe the two best players on planet Earth working with each other. That's going to distract people. Marner now has been out here for nearly a full minute and is tired after that failed clearing attempt. Cheats to Cale just a little bit, and he's trying to match McKinnon's stick here, but positionally, he's gotten just a little bit out of the way. You can see you'd like him to be about 3 feet, maybe not even 3 feet. Just be in that passing lane. Put your body in the Nichushkin passing lane and be ready to adjust to Makar. That's enough room for a caliber player of Nathan McKinnon to make this pass, and he even gets his stick over. Wow, that was a bright frame. He gets his stick over. It's just half a second too late. McKinnon's able to make the play, and Nichushkin puts a nice finish on it. The bumper play works again for the Avs. It hasn't worked as consistently as you would like, the amount of times the Avs try that play, but we're seeing it uptick back to at least functional levels since the trade deadline again for Colorado. Now, they have to do a better job of mixing in different plays and other options. The seam passes when they also overuse a lot, but when it works, you can see why they like it. It's a quality play, especially when you put a good finisher in the middle. Nichushkin has probably been the Avs' best player since the trade deadline in a lot of ways. Even if there are imperfect games in there, he is by fact their biggest producing player since the deadline and has been a key in this point streak that they were on up until this game. When you look around the rest of the Avs top 6 in this game, I really didn't think McKinnon played all that well. I didn't like Lecky or Natchez' game much at all either, and honestly, that's probably more credit to the Avs than anything. While I might not have loved their games, McKinnon had 6 shots on goal in this game. Natchez had 4. They were getting involved offensively, even if it felt like they weren't dangerous at times. That's just because the standard that the Avs top 6 has set for itself is that high. So the reality is this may not have been Colorado's best game, and they still outshot Toronto 39-26, kept it a 1-goal game, and it took something absolutely stupid for them to lose. Do they need to find a way to finish better? Sure, but I really do think this was a goalieing. And look, I'm usually the first guy to say, hey, you don't just get goalied, you have to find ways to beat them even when they're playing well. And that's true. The Avs got to find a better way to put a puck in the back of the net. But this one just felt like a good game from Woll. Some nights that's going to happen. So it's 1-1 going into the third. The Avs get a power play. And I don't think there's really any excuses for this power play. It was really bad. No two ways around that. The first one was great. On the night, you finish 1 for 2. Technically net, you're going to go 0. But you really needed a better power play than you got out of that one for Colorado. Still, just because it's a bad power play doesn't mean this has to happen. Look, it's been an awful power play for the Avs. They've done nothing with this. They get in deep and they immediately turn over a puck. I'm not telling you the Avs have played well here, but this is dumb. I mean, you cannot make this up. A simple cleared puck. The Leafs are just trying to get this down the ice, get their change, and continue their penalty kill. Instead, as you can see coming into screen here, Kelly Sutherland, the referee, has toe picked in the middle of the ice directly in the way of the puck. So it hits him, and the puck just stops in the neutral zone. Now, the Avs are unawares. Cale Makar was looking the other way. The Avs didn't even know that this happened, so they're retreating. They haven't figured out what happened, and by the time they recognize the situation, Cale was thinking about getting off the ice. He was like, we're changing. There's 40 seconds left in this power play. All of a sudden, the Leafs have the puck in the neutral zone, and it's a 2-on-1 because of a puck that should have been an easy reset and collect for the Avs is now a dangerous play the other way, and the Leafs are able to capitalize on that actually broken nonsense. Come on. Really? I am willing to overlook pretty much everything else in this game because what is that? I've seen pucks go off of refs and give teams opportunities. I've seen pucks go off of refs and go directly into the net. I have never seen a ref fall down in the neutral zone to perfectly block a puck and set up an opportunity for a team. And don't take this the wrong way. That's not on purpose. It's a very, very bad coincidence for the Avs. It's a horrible situation, and it's really, really stupid that a goal like that is allowed to count. I assume most of you with the conspiracy theories are just trolling, and if you're serious about them, you're ridiculous. The truth is, though, that's the game-winning goal, and that's really dumb. I do think the Avs struggled in the third after that. It felt like they were maybe gripping the sticks a little bit tight, and clearly you can understand why they thought things weren't going their way in this game. Maybe they manifested that prophecy a little bit. I do think there was a better job from Toronto in the third period with the details. They started winning more battles. The Avs started struggling with them, and maybe the Avs ran out of steam a little bit here. The big conversation there is for the majority of this game, the Avs put Brock Nelson and Nathan MacKinnon on a line together, and it led to some interesting results. Like I said, Natchez and Lecky really didn't play that well. Bednar clearly saw that too, so he dropped them down a line, but going Nelson, MacKinnon, Nichushkin left the Avs short on centers. Now, interestingly, Lecky, Natchez, and Coyle, who moved up from 3C to 2C, was actually the Avs' best possession line of the game, so that worked. But the Avs basically cut their depth off at the knees, moving Drury up to 3C. That line was just okay at best, and Bednar essentially cut the fourth line off entirely as they barely played at all in the second and third periods of this game. It felt like a weird choice. That's what I will say. The Avs don't have this deep center depth. We've seen ever so clearly that Parker Kelly is a significantly better player on the wing. Moving him back makes no sense. And while the Nelson, MacKinnon, Nichushkin line was fine, maybe even good, I don't think it was so good and so dangerous that it made up for that lack of center depth you cause for yourself. At the end of the day, it's Toronto's depth that scores a shorthanded goal, even if there is a stupid bounce involved in it, and the Avs' depth provided nothing. Drury, O'Connor, Kiviranta, and Druin, who was dropped to the third line in the shuffle, all produced 0 shots on goal. And I get it. Bednar is experimenting, trying things, trying to figure out what options he might have and what he can go to the playoffs, but just theoretically, this does not make a lot of a sense as an alignment for the Avs. I don't think it's something you can realistically do. However, that Coil Nature's Lekkonen thing is a bit more interesting, particularly Coil with Lekkonen. The type of player Lekkonen is functions on pretty much every line. Even if he hasn't been producing great of late, he does the little details well, whether it's the first line, second line, or even third line. So I think that's an option you could look at. If you're looking for a mix-up, you drop Lecky to the third line next to Coil, you promote someone like Drew into the top line, then you have some flexibility. You're building maybe a shutdown line of Lekkonen and Coil plus whoever, whether that's Colton, or if you want to go full shutdown line, maybe you put LOC on that line. While the third period didn't feel great, it's just hard for me to put any meaningful analysis into a game where you look at both of Toronto's goals and just laugh. The lack of 5-on-5 production here from the Avs is not the recurring problem it had been in earlier portions of the season. They've actually been producing great at 5-on-5, particularly their depth has been producing great at 5-on-5 since the deadline. So I don't know that that's a huge problem unless it continues, but for one game, you can look at it, you can shake it off, and honestly, the way this game played out, you can even say, if that's maybe on the lower end of the Avs' ability when it comes to finishing, you feel pretty good. You were able to keep this game close. You may have even had a chance to win it if things didn't bounce against you. I guess where you fall depends on where you think the Avs' floor is. And can the Avs play worse than this? Definitely. But I do think it's pretty clear that the moves they've made have raised their floor, and they're doing a very good job of keeping themselves in games. And most nights, they're gonna produce a little bit more when they play like this, and things will go just fine. That is the end of this game video review. Thank you for watching. I am Rudo, and I hope it doesn't get too cold.